So it was quite interesting actually what's driving the market as well today.
And we're still waiting on a couple of things, aren't we?
Yes, we are. You know, this is it's one of those that you know. Yesterday we kind of hit that zone, which was a selling opportunity, and I was saying you could sell to buy, but I was looking to buy a lot more shallow than it came to, and now really this is a buy zone. You know, we're sort of like down. Let me just share this screen. We're down in this buy zone, but you know, sometimes trading the long to go short or the short to go long, I kind of like, but part of me just which you know just thinking I might just wait for it to come up. I do want the short, but I'm going to wait for this area here and see if we can fall from that particular point there. I like the prospect of long to go short, and I think that there's a 15-minute signal which suggests that we could actually get well. This is obviously not so good, but I think the fact that we got through this area looks pretty good, and it looks like it may well hold. So this one closing around here in the next 3 minutes is going to suggest that we could actually move into this area, but the long to go short or the short to go long is always a dangerous play. And I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm not going to go long to go short. I'm just going to see if the market can push into this area, and if it does, then I'm going to take the short on. So I'm looking for around about 20 pips to the upside on the FTSE, and then I'm going to look for a short.
Right, bud. Um, Pound's interesting again. Gee, it's been carving us up on the breakout trade, and
Yeah.
we'll try and find a winner. So I'll set that now if you like.
Yep, sounds good, mate. That sounds good. Let's do that because
Okie doke.
the pounds are again in focus today, isn't it? Oops, what have I done there? It should be you. Yeah, the pound is again in focus today. And do you know what? Do you know what might be interesting as well with the trade, and it might be worth adding some analysis is red folder numbers. You know whether it's a red folder number day or not.
I was overnight thinking that every single, well, that's not true. You'll hear me say most days in the last little bit, there's no way I'd take this trade. And perhaps I just need to add that filter that says, no, I'm not going along there. No
Yeah,
way I'm going along there. No,
yeah,
I'm not going along there. Maybe I just need to add that filter and only trade long if there's a breakout. I don't know. Again, we're in a 3 month trial period still, with about 5 weeks to go. So we'll do the ultimate analysis when that time is up. But at the moment, wow, it's really carving us up. So that's happened before. It's not the end of the world. I'm not chucking the towel in by any stretch of the imagination. So let's see what today brings. And we've got a long entry. I might have to do this quickly. A long entry at 1:30:19. We're back to 1%. 1:30:19 is a buy stop. Stop loss on that will be 5 pips under here. And again, if I'm using discretion, I'm putting my stop under here.
yeah.
The stop's going to go at 1:29:95.
Okay, market's open in 4, 3, 2, 1. There it goes. So the FTSE 100, the pound, and all the European markets are now open. FTSE 100 is fluctuating around the 75.45 on the futures, looking for a boost of 75.72. So we're looking for a 30 pip move to the upside. Not a particularly nice looking bar on the 15-minute chart. So I think there's probably maybe a little bit more downside before a pop, but we're looking for a pop and drop, not just a drop here.
Okay, the entry short is 1:29:95. And the stop loss is, what did I say before? 130.10, was it? 130.11. Let me see. 130.11. And it is a sell stop. All right, we're good to go there. So the buy is here. The sell is here. That doesn't look right. 130.11. Just let me go through that again, right? The high is 1.3009. So it should be, sorry, that's absolutely incorrect. 13019 should be the buy and the stop loss. Let me amend that. Modify sell stop. Stop loss is 130.19. And that looks better. And the buy should be exactly on that level as well. So let me run through that one more time. The buy is at 130.19, so 1.3019, and the stop loss on that is 1.2995. The sell is entry 1.2995, stop loss 1.3019. Goodness me, we got there in the end. Price is just about bang in the middle of that right now. Yesterday's result, another Barry Crocker. And there is our up-to-date, where we have got, yesterday, Monday, we entered at 12968. And we were stopped at 1.3000. And our loss was 0.74%. Oh, okay, Mark. Cheers, mate. I'll do what I can. Is that any better? I'll speak closer to the microphone. Watch coronavirus syndrome. No, I drink Teddies, not Corona.
I tell you what, that's what's moving the market this morning, and it's a strange thing to have had the effect, and it's, you know, sometimes the market's really obvious what's going to move it, but this coronavirus seems to have had a significant effect on sentiment out there.
Tell me about the coronavirus, because I've got no idea what you're talking about. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, LT. Thank you, Christo and Mark. All good, guys. So there's our up-to-dates. 9.03 still positive, but we're going backwards, and 10.42 on the amended stop loss. And yes, we're still going backwards. 4% in the last, 3.7% in the last week and 1 day. Not great, but you know, we'll keep going. We'll keep pushing on. Sorry, mate, I interrupted.
Oh no. Just we're really talking about this this situation that seems to be plaguing markets right now. It was a virus that I think that was it came from. Is it Wuhan? I think it was a place, something like that. I can't remember the exact pronunciation. Wuhan. From a fish market or you know, some sort of fish stall or fish shop or something. It seems to be this virus from that particular area, and as people have spread around Asia, they've taken this coronavirus with them. I think we've had 4 deaths right now. 200 or so cases have been reported across major cities in China, but it's spreading, you know, right to Singapore and Thailand as well. I don't know how. You know, I think they were thinking that it was, you know, a virus that would have been like an animal virus, you know, so something that you'd have to, you could only contract from animals, a bit like swine flu or whatever. But it seems now that humans can pass it on to each other, and it's like having a really bad flu. But as I say, there are some reported deaths, but it's a strange one. I don't know I don't know whether it's the market just needed an excuse to come down, and this is it. It's a really odd one. Um, not a major problem, as we were saying before. If the market's coming down, then we're just going to get a better price for the short. Sorry, for the long. If the market doesn't come down quite as hard, then we get in short for a little while and see how far down it takes us. But it just seems like a very odd catalyst to me, mate.
It does, doesn't it? But if it's dead set serious, as you just led me to believe, then
it says here that the disease was first identified in Wuhan, the central Chinese city of 11 million people, late last year. There are currently 218 confirmed cases of the virus in China, according to the WHO. I'm not sure who they are. A handful of cases have also been identified abroad, 2 in Thailand, 1 in Japan, and another one in South Korea. Okay, not in Singapore. Those affected have recently returned to Wuhan. Authorities in many countries, including Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and China, and Japan, have stepped up screening of the air passengers. There are fears that the virus could spread swiftly and further across the country as millions of people across China prepare to travel home for the Chinese New Year holidays later this week. Nurse movement. What do we know about the virus? The virus is 2019. Is understood to be a new strain of coronavirus that has not previously been identified in humans. It's believed to have originated from infected animals at a seafood and wildlife market in Wuhan. Coronavirus are a broad family of viruses, but only 6 are known to infect people. World Health Organization, that's the WHO, has advised people to avoid unprotected contact with live animals. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really tell us a whole bunch.
Humans as well.
Or what? Sorry, buddy.
Or it would appear humans as well.
Perhaps. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That does seem
scary.
Yeah, it does seem to be a little bit scary on that front, doesn't it? But yeah, that's where we are, and now the market is the FTSE 100 has now given up. What looks like almost, well, not yet, but about a percent.
Look, mate.
Yeah, we can have a look. It's around about 1.5% from the highs. It's nothing particularly useful for us. If you that's all right. Yeah, nothing particularly useful for us. This is what we've had this morning. Wow. This is the area that we were talking about going short yesterday, but really a short to try and go long. But that long has not transpired, obviously, and dropped overnight as the Asian market opened up, and it's continued to the downside. Big movement to the downside this morning, and now it makes it difficult. Yes, you could try and get in here, or in one of these places. This is the obvious place to try and get in. So I think waiting for that area is the only real prospect here. I suspect there might be a bounce fairly close, somewhere around about this 7,500 level here. But, we've seen some support of the current move to the upside starting down at this point. So if we're thinking about the structure of this 4 hour, well, actually no. Yeah, this area gets taken out. That's suggesting that 4 hour, and that's looking pretty bad for the market. Actually, looks like a 30-pip move to the upside may well encourage some more downside. I obviously, if I'm going to go short, I'm going to be much more keen to try and get in a little bit higher. But if it's not the case that we're going to be going short anytime soon, if the short just isn't a viable and possible option, then just going to have to wait until it gets to a buy zone, mate. Looking at this monthly pivot for quite some time, maybe we finally see it. It's around about 100 more pips to go. It's halfway home, so maybe we finally see this monthly pivot eventually tested. I've been waiting for that area for quite some time, and maybe now it finally gets there. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to ride the wave to the downside on this particular occasion.
We were talking earlier about and you're saying the coronavirus is a particularly weird catalyst, and yes, that'd be right. But isn't the world market just waiting for something to say, okay, let's get out of here?
Yeah,
That's the way I kind of read it, because every single indicator you can probably even look at will tell you that the equities market is overbought. It'll tell you that there's time for a deep retracement, if not reversal. Do we not just need the tiniest thing for the market to agree with that?
well, that's what I was wondering as well, mate. You know, that's part of my suspicion. You know, I wonder whether, because the market has been so it's almost walking on stilts. You know, that the higher it gets. I mean, not so much the FTSE 100, which, you know, I still fancy the FTSE 100 for some significant upside. But if we take the FTSE 100 out of the equation and focus really on some of the other markets, like the S&P, for example. You know, the S&P, it's just from the low of this chart to the high of the chart here. That's around about a month and a bit's worth of price action. And yeah, okay, we've had a few kind of moves to the downside. This was the situation with Iran, but ever since then we've just been quite happily floating up. So yeah, there's no doubt about it. It needs some correcting. I mean, this is a weekly chart, which is the most significant, really. You know, these were the all-time highs right up until last year. These were last year's highs, and yet the market is completely blown those numbers away. Yeah, you know, it's 10% higher than that without any kind of test. So it's, you know, there's got to be some point it tests down here. Now, whether it happens, you know, today, this month, this year, who knows? But yeah, I'd agree with that, mate. You know, what are we really surviving on up here?
Well, I guess there's nowhere else to put your dough.
That's true. That's absolutely true. You know, with the liquidity, you know, that we have, the liquidity situation and scenario that we have in the market, then yeah, you're absolutely right. There's not really anywhere else that you can put your money. So so it does make it, you know, a tricky prospect. You know, how do you make anything out of how do you get your cash working? How do you make anything from your money? And it is very, very difficult. So so yeah, there's no doubt that that's the case. And you know,
we've been saying something similar, I suppose, for many moons now.
Yes.
And yet it still, you know, defies gravity, and in many regards defies market forces and market sentiment. Well, you can't say market sentiment, I suppose. But I don't know. I can't work it out.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you in as much that I don't think it would take a lot, you know, considering how lofty we've been. I don't think it would take a whole bunch for the market to.
But as Christo said, you know, Iran may have been exactly that, but it didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of the boy who cried wolf syndrome, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, isn't it? You know, that and that's why the market becomes such a challenge. Really, you know, you have a situation with which could potentially cause some worldwide instability going on, i.e., Iran, and the market continues to pop up. And yet now you've got this coronavirus, which seems fairly innocuous, and the market is coming down. So, you know, I guess it's more about certainly. Well, I guess it's more about testing levels than it is anything else. You know, when we consider these, this is the S&P. Now, the S&P is currently sitting at 3,300-ish. And I suppose just a little tip above that, it went to 3,327. So maybe it needed to test 3,000 before, you know, and you know, if we think that the Iran situation was here, it wasn't quite at 3,300. So maybe it needed to hit 3,300 before that profit was being taken. So it was just waiting for an excuse. The Dow Jones Industrials, 2,900 is here, which again, maybe it needed to hit that before it was going to start to ease to the downside. So, you know, that's a possibility. Possibly with the FTSE, when I think about the FTSE 100, looked like it was actually breaking out, but actually when I kind of like look at this line again, then what we maybe do have is a new level. You know, it looked like, by all intents and purposes, that it was here, but actually, with price action not able to get through this point, so it looked like it had taken it out, but actually needed to respect this point as well. So maybe it was just waiting for these particular price points before it was really looking for an excuse to come down, and I'm guessing that might be what's happened, mate.
Right, but that's as good as any.
Yeah,
I've got nothing. I really have got nothing.
yeah,
It's not my playground either. I've got to freely admit it's just somewhere I don't dwell. But when I think about what I hear and what I've been listening to in terms of experts, and well, experts are terrible word, I hate to use it. People who are far more experienced than myself in such matters are now of the opinion that we are in a situation where it is getting to the point of ridiculousness, and
yeah,
something has to give.
yeah.
I'll defer to that analysis, but I certainly won't be trading it. It's
Yeah,
nothing's enticing there for me right now.
yeah, I agree with you, mate.
And if it does start to waterfall, I'm going to be saying, well, I'm still going to be looking for something else to tag on the coattails rather than try and catch the wave, if you like, or the waterfall. So I just can't see me being in a position to trade these market or that market. And I seriously wish you well, mate.
Do you know what, mate? Look at this. This now it's interesting. I was looking at the VIX on the COT report last night, and the VIX was heavily long by the commercials on the COT report. And look what's happened today. Bang. Straight to the upside, and as I say, you look at the let's look at the COT report. This is really interesting. I think
actually, I'll have a look at the dollar index whilst you're looking at that.
So we're looking for the shorts, and it really is just where we can get in, isn't it? That's the key here. Where we get in, I don't know, so I'm going to have to move that because I don't want to give my login details away.
Oh, go on. Right, point.
Right, so this is, I couldn't really find a lot with the COT report this week, but I thought the VIX was the really interesting one. Where is it? There it is. Look at the VIX here. So this is 36. So 3 years, a year and a half and half a year on the COT report. A lot of these numbers are just in the middle of nowhere, but when it comes down to the VIX, it's a little bit different. Where is it? Where's it gone now again? There it is. 82% on the 3 year, and 79% on the year and a half, and 65% on the 6 month. And when we bring the COT report into play here, this was the thing that I thought was really interesting. This is the commercial buys on the COT report. That they've been looking for quite some time. Heavily long up here. When was that? Looks like the end of last year. They were sort of like starting to suggest that there could be some turmoil in the market, and we just saw it tip again last week to the upside. So maybe this is something that I was quite interested in when I was focusing on the markets over the weekend.
What are you looking at? Gold?
No, the VIX. The volatility index, this is really sort of like suggesting that there might well be some turmoil out there, but that was the only the only aspect of COT that I could find that I thought that was quite interesting and quite telling. So yeah, I liked the look of the COT report when I was looking this weekend. Sorry, I liked the look of the VIX when I was looking over the weekend as the potential opportunity, but obviously, again, not really knowing why it would do what it did, and the other markets didn't really kind of match the suggestion of volatility. But that's what we've got. A huge pop to the upside. Just check this, and literally that's a weekly chart. But look at it on the day. Huge gap to the upside, and we might well see this continue. So yeah, need to watch out for volatility by the looks of things. Certainly when it comes down to today, anyway.
Looks like we've been here before.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting, mate.
Didn't stay there, did we? It went bang crash.
Yes,
Last two.
yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely right. So that is where we are now, mates. So we've got to be looking for the shorts, and it's really just a question of where we try to get in. Now, the first obvious point on the FTSE futures is 75.39, so it's around about 30 pips above where we are now, and I'll be looking for that point. Obviously, I'd like a much better price than that. Let me just see what it would be. So 39. Yeah, so this area here is looks like the first point of call. Maybe that high. That's the real area that I would have loved, but I just don't know whether we're going to get that opportunity now.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
Should we have a look at some currencies?
Let's have a look at some currencies. Yeah, I don't think there's a great deal to do from my end until we get the price we need. So yeah, let's do that.
All right, mate. Happy days. I just before I come, I will just. We have been triggered short into the pound breakout trade.
Interesting.
So I'll just doctor that before I take the screen. Get rid of the long. Make sure you do that, guys. It's never a good thing to be in both.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? That's again, it's going to be down to those numbers that we see at 9:30, but certainly the speculation currently seems to be that those numbers may well come in a bit weaker than expected.
Yeah, just another terrible entry. Terrible entry. As I said on the daily pivot, untested daily pivot. Why would you trade straight into it? No, not for me. Anyway, let's take a look and see what we can find. And I'll go to the dollar index first, just to give you an overview of why I think what I think, I suppose. And my screen doesn't appear to be. Oh, here it comes. Bit tough to find this level. The level I'm looking at is the retest level. Since we've broken through what I can roughly call a neckline, I think I can call that a neckline. I'll go with it as a neckline anyway, given that this is a potential left, this is a potential right shoulder. And I'm calling that the neckline. So I was expecting a retest of that area there, and then a long for the dollar index, which of course is bullish US dollar. But I've kind of got the opinion we may come back to here yet. So I'm a little bit confused as to direction or timing, actually, because I can see this level dead ahead, which is quite clear on my chart. So I can see us going there, but are we going here first before we go there? Or are we going here and then back there? Question mark, question mark. So I've really got no clear indication from the dollar as to what's about to happen. So let's go and have another squeeze around the place and see if there's anything that is standing out to me. One thing did stand out to me this morning, but I couldn't take the trade, and it was Euro Yen. So let's have a look at that and see if there's anything in it. Pound's looking for a short setup here as a false break, but again, we're trading straight into the daily pivot. Very, very dangerous. Euro Yen, I said, didn't I? Here it is. Okay, this was based on a multiplicity of things, and I was just super keen to get short. It's easy to say now I should have taken the trade, but with the BOJ about to go into that BOJ conference, etc., etc., too dangerous to trade a candle that small. It's a really, really tiny candle to trade. Yes, I could have put my stops up here and my entry here, but that's not quite what I wanted to do anyway. But there is a gaping chasm down here. There's a really good reward on offer for that candle, had you chosen to trade it. And I said as much this morning in the show. But this is all based on the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is very, very clear to me. That we have, for the longest time, let's say since the beginning of 2018, been on a very, very, very bearish move, We then, after this consolidation area crashed again, now we've found a nice bull trend. I'll call it a bull trend because it is. On a weekly chart, you'd have to consider that to be a trend. However, bigger picture's telling me that that is a reversal, a retracement on the bigger move. And when I look at this level here, 123.40 odd, it's had really, really strong form in the past. Resistance here, strong support here. Strong support and resistance here, strong resistance here. This is a level. This is a key level. Now, we haven't got there really on that weekly chart. And again, that is a little bit of a concern, but price in time scenario would have been to test it here at this confluence area, and we didn't do that. We went into consolidation at the time. We've since broken the high side of this range that we entered, and now we've come back and retested not only the range, the top of the range, but that nice little resistance trend line or / trade line coming through here, and we retested it. So that was the basis upon which I thought there was a very, very good chance to get in here on that bar. But again, the news scares the bejesus out of me with small candles and no trade for me. But I will be looking for another opportunity to get into that because the reward's still there. You've got this level here is quite clear, so you've got to be taking profit before the monthly pivot. But if you manage to get through there, and of course through the next level, which is the bottom of this channel, you've got a fairly decent old reward down here. So that's the basis upon which I like that trade. The reward to risk was very, very appealing. So whilst I'm not in it, I am very, very conscious that a second opportunity may come my way, and if it does, I'll jump on it. Now that may be off that little support area there. What I'd probably like to see in that case would be break and retest. Give me enough room here to take profit before the monthly pivot, and we could be away. So that is probably the best case scenario that I can think of right now. In terms of if we do get a retracement, then where's my catching pen here? I'll get rid of that so it doesn't confuse everyone. So retracement back to, yeah, there's a level there. It's in there somewhere. And if we can marry that up with maybe a trend line, we'd need to break here. So break above here, hit the daily pivot and or this red line, which is a bit of a cloud of a price. It could be down here, which is pretty close to the daily pivot. So let's call that the level. The level is 122.20. So if we were to come back here, find the resistance, put in a lower high, and get back underneath that trend line and retest it, yes, that will be my entry. So whilst ever we've got those two trend lines there to trade off, then I'm quite confident that we can find a way into this Euro Yen short. What else am I looking at? I'm looking at Aussie Kiwi and also short. I had a trade placed on this yesterday, and I haven't taken it off. It's still there. I'm trading this bar here, and I've got my stop under. Sorry, I got my entry underneath it. I've got my stop above it. We've had 1 point. Well, we're not halfway through the day yet, I suppose. So let's call it 1.5 inside bars at this point. The thing I like about this is that I'm going to call that a weekly pivot test and rejection. Maybe I'm using a little bit of license there, a little bit of poetic license, but that's what it looks like to me anyway. So you could expect a bounce here. We kind of had that. Didn't really find a strong level before we retraced. Let's call that Asia syndrome, and now we appear to be having another good crack at that. So my entry is where, down here somewhere, I suppose. This will be the bottom of that if I go back to the daily chart. My entry is at 1.0372, and my stop loss is at 1.04. I think I snuck a couple of pips in there and made it 1.0420. I think is the stop loss on Aussie Kiwi. Basis of that trade. Look, from a technical point of view, it's not a strong case. And really, what I was going to do on Monday or yesterday was trade an OCO, so one long, one short, and take whichever one was presented. And as I said yesterday, we had an inside bar. No surprise. Sorry, it's Friday's bar. Yesterday, I had an inside bar. No surprise, given it was a US bank holiday yesterday, and that's kind of what you expect. In fact, you probably expect to see dojies more than a bullish or bearish bar. But to some degree, it's a non-event because it's an inside bar. So still thinking that can be the case. So I'm happy to stay in there. I don't want to trade through the bottom of this range. I don't want to trade through 103.40 without taking profit. So that's obviously where I will do so. And then if we're fortunate enough, we will see this disappear. It's a very low percentage trade, in my humble opinion, because we are at such a strong support level, and that's why I've got to take profit, right? I've got to get safe in the market before I get through there. But this may well be the chance for Aussie Kiwi to get through that level. It's strong level, very, very strong level. So no way I can trade into it, as I said, without taking profit. So if you're of the inclination that this can go short, I would definitely advise that you get something off the table before you hit these lows. Why am I short biased? Well, it boils down to pretty much bushfires, and I don't see the Aussie dollar benefiting from the bushfires in any way, shape, or form. I see the GDP benefiting from that, but because there'll be a heck of a lot of infrastructure rebuilt, etc., etc. But all of that will come from internal buying and selling. So I don't see that there'll be outside influences, unless maybe insurance companies who are offshore and exposed to the bushfires might have to dip in a bit. So maybe they're I'm not sure how that works, whether they have to buy Aussie dollars or whether their insurance is in fact in Aussie dollars and parked inside Australia. So I don't know. Good question. If anybody can answer that, I'd like to know, because it will have a bearing. But yes, the GDP I expect to rally, but I don't expect the Aussie dollar to rally, and I only expect it to falter actually, or stay under extreme pressure. And the reason I've chosen the Kiwi is pretty much because of I not inside knowledge, but I do listen to people who live in the country, and those people who shall remain nameless, but whose initials are Paul Bottrell. He suggested that the Kiwi should be rallying anytime soon. So I'm more than happy to take his advice on that. So I think Aussie Kiwi short is the potential. It's not perfect, as I said, because of the base that we currently are coming off. And indeed, if we were to break this range and then put in a higher low up here, I'd have to go back to my own technical analysis, which would say that we've come back into the range and put in a higher low, which therefore makes me a bull. So not completely committed to the idea, but it is an idea, and there's a little bit of profit there to be had to the bottom of that range, as I say. So anything that's really got Aussie in it at the moment, I'm a little bit bearish on. This one has broken the bottom of the most recent range that I've identified anyway. And yeah, I think a daily pivot test or a retest, which we've probably had with that bar, would have interested me. That bar doesn't. I've got to be absolutely honest. Why? It's only a soft resistance support level, but it's there, and I definitely want to see price action during the day before I commit to an overnight bar. So that's not my thing. So I'm looking for a retest, maybe even a weekly pivot test before I consider a short on that one. Aussie yen in the same category. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of it. there and put it there. Okay, so interesting, this one. Talking, we must have this conversation, Ash, at one stage too, about Head and Shoulders and what's a Head and Shoulder, and how we see it panning out. The lower low on a Head and Shoulders doesn't interest me at all. I like to see actually an equal or even a higher low before the lower high. So this is a bit ugly for me. But had it been equal, or even the low here was a bit higher than this one, so the neckline, if you like, I like to see that as either a support level or a horizontal level, and it's neither. So that's not really enticing to me. But what kind of is again the bias that I have against the Aussie at the moment. The yen, which is why I didn't take the euro yen trade, was a question mark. So again, very, very difficult to take this position. But when I look at that, I go back to these two bars here, and I think, well, either of them would have been tradable, in my humble opinion. Why didn't I trade them? Great question. Great question. And the answer is because of what I've just said. The lower low doesn't really fill me full of confidence, because that potentially is a bear trap where everyone who sees a lower low is starting to think, okay, we're going short. The lower high confirms that to some degree, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see another attempt at this high before we go short, if we go short. So that's kind of why I'm not in love with Aussie yen short right now. Although, again, given my bias against the Aussie, and I'm not sure what the yen news was or what Kuroda said today, but it looks as though from the currency pairs that I looked at against the yen that it wasn't negative.
It's weird, isn't it? Because they obviously sort of kept interest rates on hold, but maybe what he said wasn't too negative. I don't know, but the numbers aren't very good.
No, as you say, it's a little bit weird. And
I have to say, mate, looking at this as well, if we get numbers from the UK at 9:30 that suggest that there could be more pressure on the Bank of England for interest rate cuts, and we have this this situation, in the world right now for risk off. With the VIX popping and the S&P, the Dow, the FTSE, and European markets all coming down, pound yen looks to me like a decent trade for a short.
Pound yen. Right, let's take a look. Have a look at the daily to start with, and like we just discussed, it appears that the yen has found a little bit of strength today. My chart's not changing for some reason. Change. Go. There you go. This control panel gets in my road quite often. What I'm looking for that. Oh yeah, okay. Double pump at the monthly pivot, and now break and retest at the day of the weekly pivot. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Quite like that.
Let me see if there's something that interests me. Yeah, not yet, I don't think, but there's certainly a nice little area in here. Actually, that doesn't look the worst at all. I could nearly trade that bar. The only issue, I suppose, is the most recent low. How does that pan out? into 3. Is that a good fraction, Ash? I don't think so. That's my problem there. Trading straight into that low, which...
yeah, I know what you mean. I wonder whether we need to put a little pop anyway. Maybe we see...
we really haven't tested the weekly pivot yet, so yeah, maybe...
Yeah, so maybe we get that first.
Yeah, so I see your point, but no, I don't see a trade there for me just yet. Enticing though, it's kind of there, but not exactly. I don't know that I've got too much more that I wanted to look at, to be honest. You wanted to have a look at dollar yen, yeah?
Yeah, dollar yen I thought was interesting.
because we've I think a lot of the trading or the currency trading world been looking at this pair for a while
Yeah,
and thinking, okay, this is due for a short or a correction or no, let's just call it a short. I think,
yeah,
and it just keeps finding a way. I said last week that the trade that I set, and I think that's now cancelled, was under this bar here, trading a false break. And exactly the same scenario has popped up on the weekly chart. So, break, is it false? Is it real? Well, I don't really know, to be honest. But if it's to be false, then it's going to be proved false here, and we should go back to the downside. So that's why I don't know if anybody trades weekly charts outside myself when I see these scenarios, but I don't think that's the worst trade on the planet to take. So if that entices you, I think underneath the weekly bar of last week, stop above it is not such a bad deal. So plenty, and the reason I say that there's plenty of room. This is a one-to-one reward down to the bottom here, and if this actually breaks, then we're testing these levels again, and that's 500 pips to the downside with the risk of a risk. Oh, you sod! Nearly said something worse than that. Of 90, so there's 5 to 1 in that. If it comes off, so weekly charts can give you something decent if you get right. But that's about me, mate. I think I'll have a look at the 30-minute charts on the ones that I'm looking to trade, and see if they've actually given me anything. With the first bar now done and dusted. Firstly, euro yen. Okay. To the downside, double pump on that doesn't really entice me. And there's a big gap between tests here. So no, I want to see this off here again. Come back to it. Maybe I can consider it, but don't want to trade it short just yet. Again, I think the best one's going to be up here, hit the resistance back underneath, retest short there. But if we don't get that, we all have already had a weekly pivot, test, retest, blah blah blah. What we haven't had is a daily pivot retest. Yes, to smash through there. So I think I'd like to see that before I do take the short. Euro dollar, I'm still bearish on. Did we talk about euro dollar? I'm not sure we did.
no, we didn't actually.
Okay, like many others, it's lacking a couple of things, and the main thing here that's lacking is a weekly pivot test. If I would see a weekly pivot test, and it doesn't look likely today, but all things are possible. If I were to see a weekly pivot test and a rejection bar there, I think I'd be in like Flynn and short really quickly. Why? Well, not dissimilar to a couple of others that I've looked at. We've been in a bear run for the longest time, and this goes back to where is it? Mid 2017, a little bit, maybe the last quarter of 2017. So 2 years and what, 6 months? Yep, let's call it that. Have been extremely bearish for the cross. We've had a retracement, potential reversal, but retracement I'll call it. And the most recent range on this, which is here, has been or has failed on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 occasions. And what I see here is another rejection of that level. So all I'm waiting for really is a lower high to show up somewhere. It doesn't have to be a weekly chart, it can be a daily chart, it can be a 4 hour chart. It just needs to be clear. Maybe we've already had it on the daily chart. And like I said, yesterday, it appears I have to trade on Friday to catch these moves, because eminently tradable candle, that one, if that one wasn't. So you could have jumped in on either of those, I think. Um, and had you been awake on Friday morning, you probably could have caught that no problem. Pretty good trade, I would have thought, and the potential for this, in my opinion, is quite good. Have we got a head and shoulders there? Maybe we have. Have we got an inverted head and shoulders looking the other way? Maybe we have. They're all over the place when you have a look at them. That neither really entices me at the moment. I suppose this one looks better because the neckline for mine is this line here, exactly the line that I've got. Even if it's not a head and shoulders, it's a neckline for mine. So it's a potential reversal, in other words, which has been broken barely and retested barely. It's not beyond the realms of possibility for me to trade such a candle, but with the weekly pivot untested, that's the only reason I'm not prepared to take that. And I missed the entry. So there's two things going against me here. If I were to jump in here and then we get a weekly pivot test and I get taken out, I'm going to go, you expletive deleted, expletive deleted, you fool. That's not the way to trade. So I need to catch this retracement back to the weekly pivot, and that's pretty much where I'm at on that. But LT, I think you're probably on the money there. It does look a little bit like one. You really do need, in my opinion, an extended run before you can start. For me, it's not for everybody. Everybody trades head and shoulders differently. But for me, you do need some sort of extended run, and I suppose to some degree we've had that. And I'm prepared to call that a head and shoulders, and even if it's not. To me, this is still a neckline and a potential reversal. It's like I said before, when I see the low not take out the left shoulder, and then I get a shoulder, sorry, the left neckline, and then I get a shoulder in the same place as the previous. They're the kind of ones I do like, versus the lower low, which we had on. Goodness me, can't even remember the chart now. Was it? Was it Aussie? No, I could fish around all day, so I'm not going to go chasing it. But yeah, I'm a bear euro dollar, and if I can find a way in here, but I'd love to see the weekly pivot tested for before. You took the short of the weekly pivot, awesome on this candle, fantastic, mate. That was the trade. That was definitely the trade, and I missed it because I didn't get up Friday morning and have a look. Frankly, lazy bones. Anyway, we might get a second shot. We often get a second shot. So, yes, you're right. That was the trade. 100% agree with you. So, mate, I haven't got a trade at this point. Dare I look? No, I dare not look. My God, we're gone again on this. We haven't been taken out yet, but I don't think we have. Where was the stop loss? La, 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 la. Let me see. We are gone again. Gee, it's just relentless, isn't it? It's giving us a really.
Yeah, it really is at the minute. It really is. I think, and this is the thing, and they say, I wonder whether when you have red folder, released at a specific time, then the trade actually becomes a different prospect, because it's possible that that's when it should go on, and it's one of those that goes on it in the morning, but if there's red folder news, then maybe it goes on at that time of day instead.
And look, I don't know how long I've been trading with a daily pivot on my chart, and every time that it's untested, it's probably the golden rule that I have. You do not trade into an untested daily pivot. Ever. Not even most times, not even sometimes.
Ever since I've known you, you've always said that, mate.
Yeah, never do it without profit in the bank, that is. So, yeah, I'm probably going to have to add a filter that coincides with my knowledge of trading, I suppose, and that's just something you don't ever do. But I've committed to the fact that we need to trade it without those for a period of 3 months. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. The only filter I have added is that once we get 1-to-1 in profit, we have to take the profit. Not all of it. we can take half off the table, move our stops to a safe position, so that we don't actually get slammed with a whipsaw. So that's the only thing I really have added at the moment. But it looks like, yeah, there's more filters to be added here. This is not performing anywhere near what it used to, and what it should be. Chris, oil seems to be very bearish. Do you think it will keep going all the way down? Not a big oil fan. Ash, do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't be trading oil to the upside right now. I mean, obviously we're at a particular level, but we just seem to have constant problems with the situation with oil, and as commodities go, I just think it's outdated. I think the world is moving into a situation where it needs to get away from carbon. I think that the fact that we've got forest fires in Australia and all sorts of other issues on the planet, I just can't I can't quite square the circle that is oil when it comes down to it. I'm by no means an oil trader, but if I was looking for a long-term commodity to be looking to short, it would definitely be oil. I can't say where the price would be. Can it get to $70 a barrel? Possibly, but if it does, I think there's going to be a significant fall from that point. Just not interested in oil whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, I'd be looking at the shorts. So anything that pops to the upside, I'd be looking for downside. Here is just not the area to be looking for a short in oil. But there's continued problems in Iran, continued problems in Libya. You've got a world that is trying to move to carbon neutral by 2030, which is in my opinion, a number which, if they continue to state that as the date, it's going to be too late. So I think that will potentially get pushed forward, and that's going to probably have an effect on oil as well. So if I was trying to trade anything with oil, I'd be going short, and I'd be trying to, probably the $70 a barrel is about as high as I think it can go. But I'd be certainly edging in for shorts in oil if I could. So any pop to the upside here, I'd be looking to see if I could get in on the opposite direction.
All right, mate. Happy days. Hope that helps, Chris. As I said, I'm not an oil person, so I just don't feel qualified to answer your question. From a technical point of view, we have come back inside the range. We have broken the monthly pivot, and we've retested it with a bearish bar. That looks good enough for a sell to me, but you're probably a little bit too late into the trade at this point. Maybe a retest of the weekly pivot there, and the daily pivot gives you an option to get in. But if you're already in, happy days.
Cool. Okay. All right, mate. Well, let's call it. I don't really see us being able to do a lot. So the FTSE's definitely in a buy zone, but I haven't really seen any signals that I'd want to get on board with right now. Definitely buy to go. It's a long to go short, but I quite like the level down here. 7,500 is a decent level, but just haven't seen any pickup in sentiment as yet. So it might be worth waiting. And if it does pop to the upside, then we are looking for shorts, but quite a way up to be safe, I would suggest.
Yep, I'd like to see a retest of the now broken level on Aussie dollar to get short, but I probably wouldn't even do that. Reason, because I think the daily pivot's still got a little bit left in it. Weekly pivot's still untested. Yes, I'm bearish, absolutely bearish, and this has now got into 3 phases. No, I don't want to go short here. Big retracement before I go short the Aussie. Aussie Kiwi, yes, I'm still bearish that, and still in that position. Aussie CAD again needs to come back before I get in. Aussie Yen same. Euro dollar, I'm still interested. I'd like to see a weekly pivot test. And finally, Euro Yen. Well, we all know what I want here. I want a daily pivot test back underneath. Bang, slam it short. So that'll do me too, mate.
Cool. All right, guys. Back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow. 5 to 8. 5 to 8, mate.
That's a date. Don't you be late.
All right,
guys,
buddy.
For all the questions, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Yeah, good to have your company. See you guys.